Ms. Secretary, thank you for being here today. Let me start by saying that we all here wish you a full and speedy recovery. We understand you are still recovering, and sitting for too long is not the best thing for your health. So in consultation with the ranking member, we've agreed to your request to limit your appearance today to 2 hours. To get to as many questions as possible, I ask unanimous consent to reduce the time for questions to 4 minutes. Without objection, so ordered. To members, if we can't get to you today, you please submit your questions for the record, and the Secretary has assured us he will get answers to those back in a timely fashion. Also, the Secretary will be back in about a month to testify again, so you'll have another opportunity at that time. Ms. Secretary, the reason we've asked you here today is not to discuss your health. We're here today to determine why the President was not immediately informed of your incapacitation. The timeline, as we understand it, is this. On the evening of January 1st, Secretary Austin was transported to the hospital via ambulance for complications stemming from a surgical procedure he had on December 22nd. On the afternoon of January 2nd, the Secretary's authorities were transferred to Deputy Secretary Hicks without her even being informed as to why. On January 4th, 3 days after the Secretary's hospitalization, Deputy Secretary Hicks and the President were first informed that Secretary Austin was in the hospital. On January 5th, Congress is informed of the Secretary's hospitalization. It's totally unacceptable that it took 3 days to inform the President of the United States that the Secretary of Defense was in the hospital and not in control of the Pentagon. Wars were raging in Ukraine and Israel, our ships were under fire in the Red Sea, and our bases were bracing for attack in Syria and Iraq. But the Commander-in-Chief did not know that his Secretary of Defense was out of action. Even the Deputy Secretary, the person to whom your powers were transferred, didn't know that you were in the hospital. Our forces conducted a pre-authorized strike on Iranian-backed militia in Iraq during this period. Had something gone wrong with the strike, or worse, if there was an attack on the United States, precious time would have been wasted while the President sought in vain to find his Secretary of Defense. The chain of command doesn't work when the Commander-in-Chief doesn't know who to call. That's why we want to know who made the decision to withhold that information from the President. And although you publicly stated you are solely responsible, you've also informed this committee that it wasn't you who decided to withhold the information from the President. We were led to believe your 30-day interval internal review would shed light on that matter, but it includes no explanation of why the President and his staff were left in the dark. It makes no recommendations to improve communication with the White House, and unsurprisingly, it holds nobody accountable. We appreciate your desire to protect your subordinates, but it's important in democracy that public officials are held accountable when mistakes are made. This administration has gone to great lengths to avoid accountability whenever possible. But this is a matter of national security, and someone needs to be held accountable. Furthermore, I find it very concerning that the Secretary could be hospitalized for 3 days without anyone else in the administration even noticing. That suggests Secretary Austin's advice is not sought or heeded in the White House, even while military operations were ongoing in the Middle East. It also implies that the White House politicals, not seasoned defense professionals, are in the driver's seat on matters of national security, which is very disturbing. Finally, beyond the immediate need to inform the President, Congress also has a right to know of secretarial absence or transfer of authority. Ironically enough, None of this would have come to the attention if the White House hadn't demanded that the department come clean to Congress and the public. Ultimately, our goal today is to understand how and why this happened so we can ensure it never happens again. With that, I yield to my friend and colleague, the ranking member, for any statement he may have.